So on the 7th of May, voting will take place for local council elections up and down the country. And yes, important Welsh elections and Scottish elections too, but this video is primarily targeted to the council elections. I want to start by acknowledging something. If you're fed up with politics and politicians, honestly, I get it. If you've been let down by politicians, I get that. And if you're thinking, like, what's even the point of voting? I genuinely understand that too. But I want you to stay with me because this isn't one of those videos where someone in the suit tells you everything's going to be fine. I wish I actually could say that. But most likely, things will probably get worse before they get better. And pretending otherwise will will definitely be an insult to your intelligence. Now, what this video ends up being, I hope, is a real conversation about what a councillor can do, what they can't do, what your vote actually means, and most importantly, what we need to do together after the elections are over. So I'm outside Birmingham City Council House, and in a few days' time, the makeup of the chamber inside will be very radically different to what it currently is, and that's probably going to be the case up and down the country. So one of the major questions to ask is, what is a councillor and what do they actually do? Now, what we definitely know, obviously, is that a councillor is not a member of parliament. They don't control the NHS, they don't set interest rates, they didn't cause the cost of living crisis. But what they do control is stuff that affects your daily life in your locality. Like, for example, in places like Birmingham, your streets, your parks, planning decisions, local housing, children's services, libraries, the bin collections, major one here in Birmingham, the daily stuff that actually matters. The councillor is the person whose job it is to know their ward and to fight for it, to show up when things go wrong, saying loudly that my community, my ward deserves better than what they're getting currently. They're your representatives. And in a time when a lot of people in power feel very, very, very far away, that matters even more. But let me be straight with you. Councils across the country have had their budgets cut massively over the past decade. Birmingham City Council, as you probably know, has had some serious financial challenges, to say the least. So if you vote someone on the 7th of May and expect them to fix the roads, sort the housing list, open a youth centre and cut council tax, and expect all this to happen, it's probably not going to. Not because I don't care, but because the money isn't there. And if a candidate is promising you all that, ask them how. Because the honest ones will tell you, we can fight, we can advocate, we can be creative, but we can't conjure up money out of nothing. And what a good councillor can do is make sure that every pound is available, spent on the right things, for the right people who need it, in the right way. And that's not nothing. In real terms, that's actually everything. So, with all that said, what does a good councillor actually look like? Now, I think it's important that we forget the old image of someone sat in those kind of town halls, rubber stamping decisions, shaking hands at ribbon cuttings. The councillors that our communities need in this day and age is someone who's actually out there, out here in the streets, knowing people, knocking on doors, not just during election hives, but the person who gets a call at 11 o'clock at night from a family who's facing eviction and knows exactly who to ring. They're the one who sits in that housing meeting and refuses to let your street be forgotten. They're the one who brings the mosque committee, the local school governors, the local GP surgery, the local council officers, all in the same room, because they know that to solve a problem, it can't be done alone. They're a connector, someone who bridges these people together, and they're a voice for people who don't feel like anyone is actually listening. That's who you're voting for. Not someone who's a miracle worker, but someone who's a hard worker, someone who actually shows up. And now, here's a bit for voters, and actually for candidates too, those of you who are putting yourselves forward. Here's the truth that I think not enough people say out loud. Voting is not the end of the road, it's actually the beginning. You think just because you put someone in that seat on Thursday, that's not your part's done. Nope. Think again. You see, councillors who make the biggest difference aren't necessarily the ones with the most power. They're the actual ones who are most engaged, who have the community behind them, who have their people come to meetings, who have people in their community flag up issues. people who look out for their neighbours. You know, this used to be a thing in communities up and down the country. This was the norm. You had, like mosques didn't wait for like the council to feed people during COVID or to help vaccinate them. They just stepped up and did it. The street WhatsApp groups, the food parcels that went out, checking on your elderly auntie next door. That's the energy that's needed to bring civic life back into society, not just like in a crisis, but this needs to be the everyday norm. Your counsellor can actually help open doors to make society a bit better, but they can't get you to walk through the door. You understand? Look, I know we're living in difficult times and prices are up, trust is down, everyone's just tired. So many people are angry with the situation that they're in, and that anger is completely justified. I'll tell you what I've seen in places in inner city Birmingham. I know that this is replicated in other places too. When people decide to stop waiting for someone else to fix things, and start showing up themselves, things actually start to change. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not perfect, but they do begin to change. So definitely vote. Please vote. It matters more than you actually think, especially in local elections where a handful of votes can actually decide everything. But also get involved in council meetings, resident group meetings, support whoever gets elected, hold them to account, obviously, but also give them the tools to fight for you, tell them what's wrong, show up. Because the best councillor in the world can't represent a community that's standing on the sidelines. This is your ward, this is your home, this is your city, and this right now is your moment. So don't waste it.